For today's bomb notes, we're going to be adding fractions with unlike denominators. So go ahead and glue this paper into your bomb and make sure you add the title to your table of contents. Our learning target for today is I can add fractions with unlike units using the strategy of creating equivalent fractions. So for today, we're going to be looking at denominators that are different. We're going to have to find an equivalent denominator and make equivalent fractions. All right, so the first one, 3/8 plus 1/4. So the first thing I'm going to do is I'm going to look at the denominators, the 8 and the 4. I'm going to realize they are not the same. So I need to find a common denominator between them. So to do that, I'm going to list the 8 and the 4. And I'm going to create a multiples chart. So I'm going to count by 8s across the top. So 8, 16, 24. And then I'm going to count by multiples of 4. So 4, 8, 12. That's enough. All right, I'm looking for the least common multiple between them. So if I look right now, I see that an 8 is the least number that they have in common. So my LCM, our least common multiple, is going to be 8. That is going to be my new denominator. If I look at my first fraction, 3/8, I notice that it already has an 8 as a denominator, so I do not have to change that one. But when I look at 1/4, I notice that 1/4 does not have an 8 as a denominator. So I have to create an equivalent fraction with this new 8. So now I think to myself, 4 times what number gives me 8? 2. Whatever I do to my denominator, I must also do it to my numerator. So 1 times 2 is 2. So now I've created two equivalent, or another fraction that's equivalent to 1/4. So 2/8 is equivalent to 1/4. I'm going to take the original 3/8 and the 1/4 that I've now changed to 2/8 and add them together. So 3/8 plus 2/8 equals 5/8. I can also model this using a picture. So if I start off with the 3/8, I'm going to take a box and divide it into 4s and then into 8s, and I'm going to shade 3 of the 8 pieces. So 1, 2, 3. And now I'm going to model the 1/4 from the original problem. I'm going to make my hole the same size as the one above it. All right, so I made my 4s. I'm going to shade 1 of the 4. And then I'm going to use the problem that I just created. So 1/4 is also the same thing as 2/8. So I'm going to think about how I can break this picture up and to show 8s. If I add a line right here, now I've created 8 pieces. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, and 2 of them are colored or shaded yellow in this picture. So now I've got 2 pieces out of 8. So if I add those together, I still get that 5/8. Because there is 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 pieces all together that are 1/8 sizes. All right, pause the video if you need more time. If not, let's go ahead and look at number 2. We're looking at 4/5 plus 1/5. So right now, notice the denominators are not the same. I have a 10 and a 5. They have to be the same in order to add them. So I'm going to pull them to the side. and I'm going to make a multiples chart. So I'm going to count by multiples of 10 to start with. So 10, 20, 30, and now I'm going to count by multiples of 5. So 5, 10, 15. And I'm looking for the first number that they have that's the same, and I see that that is a 10. Those are the same. So my least common multiple is a 10. I'm going to use that 10 as my new denominator. If I look at the first factor, 4/10, it already has a 10 as a denominator, so I don't have to do anything to that one. Now I'm going to pull down 1/5. I have to make this equivalent to a fraction that has a 10 as a denominator. So I'm going to think to myself, 5 times what number gives me 10? This one's also a 2. Whatever you do to your denominator, you have to also do this to your numerator to make an equivalent fraction. So 1 times 2 is 2. So 1/5 is equal to 2/10. I'm going to take my original 4/10 and my new 2/10, I'm going to add them together because they have the same denominator now. Remember, all we're doing is making an equivalent fraction. We're just making the pieces look different. So this is going to be 6/10. Now, the problem says to simplify if you can. 6/10 can be simplified. There is a number that will go into 6 and into 10 equally. And that number is 2. 2 goes into 6 3 times, and 2 goes into 10 5 times. So this answer, 6/10, is also the same thing as 3/5. This is just the simplified answer. All right, we're going to try to model this as a picture as well. So I'm going to think about my tenths. I'm going to make a box for it. I'm going to break it up into fifths and then break it across horizontal, make my 10 pieces. I'm going to make a box as close as I can to the same size. I'm going to break up into fifths, like my problem says. And my original problem said 4 out of 10, so I'm going to shade 4 of the 10 pieces. And my original problem said 1/5, so I'm going to shade 1 of the 5. And I'm going to look back to my problem. I changed fifths into tenths by dividing it into 2 pieces. So I'm going to cut this one in half. And now I've created tenths. My top picture is showing 4/10 still. My bottom picture is now showing 2 out of 10. And when I add those together, that's where I get that 6/10. If I need to count those pieces, I can. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. 6 pieces that are all 1/10 in size. Remember, this also simplifies to 3/5. All right, pause the video if you need more time. If not, let's move on to the next example in your notebook. So the next one is 2/4 plus 1/5. So first thing I notice is that those denominators are not the same. So I'm going to create a multiples chart. I'm going to count by 4. So 4, 8, 12, 16, 20. And I'm going to count by 5s. 5, 10, 15, 20. I'm looking for the first number that they have that's the same. So if I go through my chart, it looks like 20 is actually the smallest one. So my least common multiple is 20. So when I look back at my original fractions, I notice that neither one of them have a 20 as a denominator, which means I have to change both of them to an equivalent fraction with 20 as my denominator. So if I look at the first one, 2/4 is how many 20ths. I think about that 4 times what number gives me 20. So 4 times 5. Whatever you do to your denominator, you must also do it to your numerator. So now 2/4 is equivalent to 10/20. And I'm going to take my original 1/5 from my problem. and make it equivalent to a fraction with a 20, because that's our least common multiple, I'm going to think to myself, 5 times what number gives me 20, which is 4. And then I'm going to do the same thing to the numerator, times 4. So now I have 4/20. Now that both of my fractions have the same denominator, I can add them together. So think about my original problem, 2/4 plus 1/5, 2/4 just got renamed to be 10/20. And 1/5 just got renamed to be 4/20. So this gives me 14/20. If I look at that, I can tell that this could already be divided by 2 on both of them because they are both even numbers. So if I divide so that I can simplify them, 14 divided by 2 gives me 7, and 20 divided by 2 gives me 10. So this is the simplified answer, 7/10. And then if we were to draw a picture, it's going to be very, very small little boxes to put them beside each other, this problem. I'm going to start off by making my fourths in the first one. And this one I'm going to make my fifths. And I'm going to shade the first one. So the first one was 2/4. So I'm going to shade 2 of these. My second one is only 1/5, so just one little row down here. And now I have to break these up into 20ths because I found that with my least common multiple. So I'm going to bring 5 lines over. And on this one, I'm going to bring 4 lines down. So now they're the same size. And if I look at this one, there is now 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10 out of 20, which matches this problem. And if I look at this one, there's 1, 2, 3, 4 out of 20, so it matches the second problem. So we did this correctly. If we add these two pictures together, we are still going to get 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11, 12, 13, 14. So 14 pieces that are all 1/20th in size. And we already talked about this. We can simplify it down to 7/10. All right, go ahead and pause the video if you need a moment to finish up. If not, you can go ahead and close up your bomb, return to your Canvas course, and work on your independent practice.